What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another episode of the NBA Fastbreak Podcast. I am Brandon Brown, joined as always by Ben Stinar. And Ben, we were getting ready to record today. I asked you for a topic, and you actually, unprompted, maybe it was a little swayed knowing what I'm all about, but you said, let's talk Pistons Knicks, man. Let's talk about that series. Let's talk about the first two games up in Madison Square Garden. And I was ecstatic as soon as you mentioned it because Actually, let me ask you a question real quick. Obviously, the Knicks, Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, like that's international. Would you call Detroit a small market team, or do you think they're a little bit bigger than that? I just
That's
that
a
that's
good one. That's a
yeah,
good one. I think you got to go small market because Detroit versus a New York or LA, Miami, you know the vibe. But
sure,
but there's this weird element of like cities like that get the big market feel, as you could tell me better than I would know. But it's because it's like when that maybe they're not Boston where it's every night there's a sellout when they're a decent team. But man, when that team is good,
yeah,
oh, do they come out to support that team? Whether that's social media, the views on Google, whether that's watching the game, the views. That is and they have history too. That's the key with the Pistons that maybe some other teams you could say like Oklahoma City is new. Milwaukee didn't have had some history a long time ago, but Detroit has had some recent history. In the
hmm
last this 2000s era.
yeah. It's just one of those things that comes up a lot. Detroit's a proud city. The Pistons weren't very good for a long time. The Lions were trash for a long time. The Wings are on a pretty long skid tight, but like it's a sports town, and
Yeah,
they do really really come out when they're good. And the Pistons are pretty good right now. As I said, the series is tied 1-1. They stole one in Madison Square Garden, so now the Pistons have home court advantage. They'll take on the Knicks on Thursday night in Little Caesars Arena. So I guess it's funny, man, being here in the area. I'm 30 minutes from downtown Detroit, and there weren't many people giving the Pistons a chance, even in the local market, to beat this team, to beat the Knicks. I absolutely think they can win this series now. Am I alone in that after watching the first two games, or do you think the Knicks are still going to take this thing? What do you think?
yeah. It's one of those things where it's like they gotta play better than they even need to, if that makes any sense. Just with the way New York, the Garden that we talked about, the Knicks are just more talented
Mhm.
overall. But man, do I want to say the Pistons, right? Like, man, do I want to give you that to the Pistons? But I'm still going to go Knicks in 6 or 7. But man, do I want to I want to just say they're going to break through the crack there and they're just going to sneak in because it's possible. It's so possible. But they got to play. It's like to beat the Knicks on a regular night versus like the playoffs, just the officiating at the Garden. Like it's just there's more than there's. I think there's more than just they got to like do a lot to beat. They got to beat them by 10 instead of 5. You know what I mean? To
Yeah,
really to secure the series.
we kind of saw what could be the Pistons' weakness a little bit in the first game, where they were in the game, I think, even leading most of the first three quarters, and then just got smacked in the fourth quarter. And that's kind of been an issue with the Pistons, and they're young, and this is their first run in the playoffs with this core and for Cade Cunningham and things like that. But then in the second game, they were able to maintain that lead throughout, and now they're heading to Detroit. I guess let's start there. Do you think the Knicks steal one back on Detroit's home court?
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting, right, Brandon? Is if they can go back to the Garden 3-1, now you're really
Exactly.
talking, right? Now you're really talking. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? The Pistons have to do something like that. They can't just trade tick for tack, tack for tick. Maybe when they've gotta like assert their dominance because even if they go 3-1, I bet it goes 3-2 or 3-3, right? So it's like they've got to establish that. I think you'd know better than I would how they're going to play at their home floor. But I mean, if they can get game 3, I think you got to put Knicks on the ropes there
Mhm.
at game 4 in Detroit.
It's just one of those things, man. Like the I almost called it the Palace. There's my age a little bit, but the no LCA will be rocking. There's no doubt about it. As we talked about at the very beginning of the episode, the fans really really show up when it's time for them to show up. So I think the environment's going to be incredible. I think, some of the young guys might be a little more calm at home, but the Pistons have been turnover prone. It's kind of even Cade Cunningham. I mean, he handles the ball a ton, so his turnover numbers are going to be up a little bit, but he turns the ball over a little too much. Isaiah Stewart's hurt right now, and their backup center, Paul Reed, turned the ball over quite a bit in the game, too. So that's something that seems to be there with them all the time, but I guess how big of a deal do you think that is? Home court in the playoffs for a young team that might not even know any better at this point. They really
Yeah,
don't. But you've
that's
got key guys that are 22 years old and younger. playing at home now for the first time in the playoffs. Like, how big do you think that could be?
That's a great point. I think that we're talking about Detroit like it is. I think Detroit's that kind of city where it's no, they're not Boston with the Celtics, history and the Lakers, blah blah blah. But I mean, my gosh, if they can get that place rocking, the Pistons are going to be like, wow, this is what a playoff environment is like, right? Like that's going to be the kind of thing. That's a great point about more comfortable, right? Their first 2 games were at the Garden, which is a place known as when the same thing when the fans come out at the Garden for the playoffs. So I mean, they now get that version for themselves, instead of a tailwind, it's for them, right? It's not a headwind, it's a tailwind. Mm-hmm. And so I think that could be big. And saying that, what Malik Beasley's going to do? I mean, it's kind of weird. Like with some teams, you're like, what LeBron's going to do, but how are the role players going to do? You know what Steph's going to do, but how are the role players going to do? I'm thinking maybe it's reversed with the Pistons here. Maybe we know what Malik Beasley's going to do. We know that, Stewart's banged up right now. We know that they've got, a Tobias Harris who's going to give you 15. But maybe it's Cade Cunningham. We don't know what he's going to do. Maybe we need 40 and 10 from him, right? Maybe it's like inverted, right? Where it's like, LeBron and Luka, but can Rui Hachimura hit 3 threes, right? That's going to seal the game. Rui Hachimura is balling out. But maybe for the Pistons, we need Cade to have like a vintage game.
Mm-hmm. So it's like the gambling gods know. I bet on Rui Hachimura to make 1 3-pointer last night, and he busted my parlay. He went 0 for 2 from 3. So you just had to bring that up, and we did not say a word about that to each other.
That's funny. But you get what I'm trying to say there. It's like they won the game last night, but you don't want that. If Rui's not making – if I saw that stat line, didn't know the score of the game last night, I'd say, oh, did the Lakers have that? Did the Lakers lose? Because for a lot of these contending teams, you need the role player to step up. Pistons, I'm thinking maybe we need Cade to assert himself. It's like, no, I'm the guy, right? I'm 35 and 15 tonight. And because we know Malik Beasley's going to hit a few shots, get that crowd roaring. Mm-hmm. We know Tobias Harris can have his lulls, but he's going to give you 10, 15 no matter what. Mm-hmm. Can Cade show that he is a top 15, top 10 guy, which we've asked before and talked about?
It's a very interesting point, and I like that you went there too, because that's been another discussion even here in the local market. I think before the series started, if you ask local people, and especially if you ask people outside of the Detroit market, rank the players in order of best to worst, or whatever you want to, rank the players in the starting 5 from most talented or best to worst. I think most people probably would have put Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony-Towns ahead of Cade. After 2 games, has he been better than those 2 mega stars? And Cade's kind of working his way. He's a first-time All-Star this past year. He's had 2 really good games. Where do you put Cade now after 2 games in this series compared to, those guys have been doing it for a little bit longer?
At least? That's a great point. I think the question would be, can he be better than one of them? Right? Mm-hmm. It can't be, but they can't have the 2 best players. Can he be better than one of them? I think after game 2, he's been better than Cat, but Cat's hit or miss, right? Cat could also go for 20 and 20 next game out of nowhere, right? Like Cat's one of those guys too, where he's been a little inconsistent in big games, but man, when he is on, it's like we're talking about fans coming in when he is on, he is on, right? There's a reason why people just can't let go of his like superstardom potential, even though he's 29, right? It's like he's still got it. When he's got it, he's got it. But right now, I think Cade would be number 2. I think if you go Brunson, Cade, and Cat. But can Cade keep in line there where, you keep Cat to the side and you kind of get up there with Brunson? Now you're talking, right? Because the Pistons don't have they might have depth, but they don't have the depth stardom of like the Knicks. Like a Josh Hart is like a borderline all-star player.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Pistons don't have that quite yet. But right, Tobias Harris, he can match up with McHale a little bit. McHale Bridge, another guy. Like, that's a good, depth there of like that's your 4th best player.
Yeah.
So, I think Cade he's young. I don't want to put it on him yet, but I mean, my gosh, if he can, it's only bonus for him at this stage if he can show that he's up there with Cat and Brunson.
Yeah, he's been very, very good through the first 2 games. Karl Anthony-Towns, scoreless in the second half of game 2, I believe, was the kind of the knock on his performance so far. Brunson's been really good. Let's talk a little Jalen Brunson. He is getting a poor reputation quickly around the Detroit area for the flailing, the head being thrown. I mean, but you see these memes online now. I don't love that method of play. And look, like I also saw the Pistons' Dennis Schroeder like jump from the 3-point line to half court when he was getting screened like he had been shot. So like I know it happens on all teams, on some level, and it's kind of the way the game is played now. Luka really hunts fouls. James Harden made it famous. Like the big stars tend to do it. Where do you fall on that method of play, and then specifically with Brunson in this series, kind of how he's going about getting to the foul line?
Yeah, I think both can be true, right? I think the fans can over exaggerate it, but I also think that the players can also over exaggerate too, right? I think it's kind of I don't think it's kind of a one way or the other, right? Like I think that there's times where it's too much both ways, right? Maybe the fans are
Yeah.
talking too much about it, and maybe the players are doing it too much, right? Like because Harden, was notoriously known for that. But I mean, if you watched him play, I mean, he was still playing. It's such a weird thing, right? It's certain plays, right? Certain plays are like that's egregious, right? But then you're like the other ones, they're just being smart. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that's kind of like pass interference in football or something like that. It's like how do you do this, right? Because you can't just deck a guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can't like just do it, right? You can't just lean into him and then it's a foul. Like they've been better about it. Like it's been better, but yeah, Brunson is I feel like it's if you think about like anything you do, right, or basketball or anything, it comes like habitual, right? Maybe it's almost
Yeah.
a habit for Brunson. It's like he just is like muscle memory at this point. Just he's playing like that because he's getting rewarded for it.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great. I don't know if he could stop if he wanted to. Like, I think he. I was trying to, as you said, that I was trying to remember. I didn't watch him play a ton when he was in Villanova, but he's look, he's not a fly by you athlete. He's not an above the rim guy. He's not very tall, so he's had to find ways to gain an advantage his whole career, and obviously he's done that. He got the max deal. He's been borderline MVP type of player since he got to New York. So it's working, but when you see it now in a series, game after game after game, like we're going to here as Pistons fans and in the Detroit area, people are just kind of sick of it. And, LeBron's been tagged before as a flopper and like, oh, that's why he can't be the greatest. Like MJ would never type of thing. Luka really hunts for fouls at times. We mentioned Harden. I mean, any of these guys who go to the line a lot do it. And, it's a big way that they score some of their points. It makes you a little annoyed at times as maybe a fan of the other team, but I think I actually read that Brunson might be like 4th or 5th in the league for jersey sales. So clearly it's not hurting his popularity either. But yeah, as a Detroit fan, I'm sure I'm already sick of it, and I'll probably continue to get more sick of it. But again, I also saw Dennis Schroeder fly across the screen like he had been hit by a car. So like I said, It happens. It's not my favorite thing. I'm more of a purist, I guess, a little more old school when it comes to that. But, it is what it is. Last but not least, I think you already said it, but how do you see the series going now for the last 5 games, if it does go to 7? Or how do you think the series plays out when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I think Pistons put up a great fight. I want to see them pull off the upset. I've always liked the underdogs, but I'm going to go Knicks in 7.
Knicks in 7. I think it's going to be Pistons in 7. I really do. I mean, they stole one of the first 2. I really think they're going to go back to New York up 3-1. I don't think they're going to lose a game in Detroit over these next 2, but then I think the Knicks will stop playing with their food, so to speak, and even the series up 3-3, and then I think Game 7 at the Garden would be incredible. Yeah. And then my heart just takes over, and I'll say I want the Pistons to get it, but I would not be surprised if it goes exactly that way, and then the Knicks do win it in 7 at home. But I'll if I had to put money on it, I might not say the same thing, but I'm gonna go with my heart right now and say Pistons in 7. So there you go.
Either one's a good outcome.
There you go. He's Ben Stinar. I'm Brandon Brown. We'll be back next week to talk more NBA playoffs basketball. Thanks, Ben.